My name is Friedrich, and I'm the Director General of the International Network for Bamboo and Rattan. And I'm very happy to follow up from what Dennis was saying to basically tell you why I believe bamboo can play a key role in the agroforestry systems for the future and help us to reach these sustainable development goals. INBAR is an intergovernmental organization. It is the only intergovernmental organization that focuses specifically on bamboo and rattan. And we do that through policy influence. We help with setting standards. We're talking about certification, which is a big issue, information, training, general communication, and we are involved also in adaptive field research. And I want to try to explain very quickly why I think bamboo could play a key role. The first thing is bamboo is basically throughout the world. It's not an Asian crop as many people think. It occurs both in Africa, in the Americas, and in Asia. It is arguably the fastest growing plant in the world, reaches maturity in weeks rather than months or years. I know it's not a tree, but it behaves a bit like a tree. And as far as agroforestry is concerned, it is a crop that can be planted and cultivated very easily without real technical knowledge by women and male farmers throughout the world. Why would they do so, and how does this link with sustainable development? Well, I think the first thing is, Millennium Goal number 1, and also one of the primary sustainable development goals, is how do we reduce poverty? And bamboo can provide alternative income to low-income families, to poor farmers, to individuals around the world, by using this resource, for example, for charcoal. This is a sustainable source of charcoal for the household, charcoal at the homestead, and therefore providing a sustainable energy for local people. There's also some very important environmental consequences. One of the Sustainable Development Goals, as you heard, is how we can help stop land degradation. The root system of bamboo helps with that. It is very extensive, the running bamboo that is. Of course, there are different types, but this is a system that holds the soil, that basically keeps our slopes together and can be used in land restoration and stopping degradation throughout the world. And the other Sustainable Development Goal, climate change. We've been able to show through some experiments in China that an equivalent forest of bamboo actually absorbs more carbon than the same area of Chinese fir. Comes with that the fact that bamboo has to be harvested basically within 4 or 5 years. It could actually be even bigger. And finally, what would anybody do with bamboo? Well, of course, traditionally, bamboo and rattan have been used for matting, for baskets, for furniture, often cheap furniture. This is how a lot of the people in the countries that are the members of INBAR, the producing countries, survive and make their living. But I think the future is that bamboo can actually provide us with some amazing opportunities to reach these new development goals. It can be used for large-scale landscape restoration, one of the things you mentioned earlier. It is being used more and more, not as a traditional building material as round bamboo poles, but actually through engineered construction. It is now used in industrial development, and it can be used as an alternative to both wooden beams, but even steel trusses. And finally, there is research going on that shows that bamboo could be used to produce both ethanol and butanol. And this could help us to really find a solution to our questions on how we come up with a sustainable energy resource that is not just for households, but actually further. So my point is, I think bamboo really helps us to reach our sustainable development goals. And I would like you to consider this in your further plans and your thoughts about how we develop agroforestry for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Friedrich. Our next speaker will give a talk is Kiran Kumani. Please come here.
Good morning, all of you. I am Kiran. I come from an organization called Foundation for Ecological Security. We work across some 8 states of the country and with some 5,500 village institutions. And most of our work is actually situated in the semi-arid and arid areas of the country. So And our work is mostly with community members and the areas that we work in. So you'll find a preponderance of poverty, with a lot of people being only marginal or small farmers. So, and the agriculture is dependent on rains. It's mostly monsoon fed. So in those kind of situations, it makes sense to be not only dependent on the farming, but also on alternative sources of livelihood. And having agroforestry or having some trees on your farm can definitely help. So the forestry species that are like the plants or trees that are found there, they can be used for various things. Like the earlier speaker was talking about bamboo. Bamboo is not only helpful for making products, but also is used vastly by the villages that we work in for thatching, for roofs and all that. Also, that most of the areas that we work in, the farmers generally prefer to have a few trees on their farm, so that in case of crop fails, so they still have something that they can sell or something that they can use to feed themselves. So it also adds to the resilience of the household and adds to their food security. Then it is also in the areas that we work, it is also used as a lot of time these small and marginal families are in dire need of money, and they do not have such cash flows. So they can just use these trees to sell them to somebody and get that instant cash to provide for their needs. And another thing is that when we are talking about maybe agroforestry and business, we need not only think of the cash inflows that these trees or agroforestry brings in, but also the costs that they might help in avoiding. Like I was talking with Catherine yesterday, so I mentioned that in the areas that we work, we keep on undertaking studies to see the impacts of our work. And in Kadari watershed in Anandpur, Andhra. So we undertook a study in which it showed that because of the plants or trees that the farmers had on the farm bunds, there was a lot of bee assemblages, pollinators. So because of the pollinators that were there, the cost of maybe hand pollination was being reduced. Also, these trees and plants supported some 10 types of spiders, which acted as natural pest controllers, spiders as well as leaf hoppers. But we were seeing that with increased use of maybe pesticides that some farmers were using, this population of bees and spiders is slowly going away, bringing in costs which were maybe earlier not there. So we are working with farmers in those regions to save these bees and these pest predators so that those kind of costs are avoided. So I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiran, for showing us how farmers can do without forestry. Our next speaker is Sidhu. Please come here.
Thank you very much. My name is Sidhu Drame Yaye, and I'm coordinating a network called the African Network for Agriculture, Agroforestry, and Natural Resources Education, ANAFE. It's a baby of ICRAF, actually created in 1993, and which grew, and now ICRAF has let the baby grow alone. So we are very happy that we are hosted still by ICRAF and benefiting a lot from ICRAF. And well, I wanted to just take one thing from what Dennis Garrity has said. It is about Sustainable Development Goals. He didn't talk about the Millennium Development Goals because everybody knows that these Millennium Development Goals had a little bit failed because we had forgotten the most important elements of development, which are people. So I think when talking about people, we need to think about agriculture not only as a production area, but also an area that can give some income to people to be able to develop. Those areas that are mentioned in now the Sustainable Development Goals, like health, like education, but also gender and also equity. So what I wanted to stress a little bit is an area that ANAFE is focusing very much now, which is agribusiness. We see that some studies from the World Bank and UNIDO showed that agriculture and agribusiness are Africa's largest economic and fast-growing sectors since the mid-1990s. It is also estimated by the World Bank that agriculture and agribusiness together could bring up to $1 trillion in Africa's regional economy by 2030. So we understand how African governments are all working very hard to reach the horizon 2030 because of this. We also know that agriculture and agribusiness could lead to the kind of economic transformations that we saw in emerging economies such as Thailand, India, Brazil, Russia, etc. But the African government have also recognized the role of agribusiness as stressed in the Pillar 2 of our Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, which is about markets and agribusiness. We know then that agribusiness can play a critical role in jump-starting economic transformation through the development of agro-based industry. Of course, successful agribusiness investment, in turn, can stimulate agricultural growth through the provision of new markets and the development of a vibrant input supply sector. We have prioritized in Africa growth, but also how do we feed our people? We know that by 2050, it is expected that African population will reach 2 billion people. How will we feed those people? This is a big challenge because we will need to increase agricultural productivity by 70%. But what does really agribusiness entail for us? We know the post-harvest activities which involve the transformation, preservation, and preparation of agricultural products for intermediary or final consumption is a huge challenge in Africa. But because agro-industries are situated between raw and natural source of supply and dynamics of food and fiber demand, the promotion of agro-industry development can provide positive impacts on employment in both rural and urban areas, and offer also market access to smallholder agricultural farmers, and also be strong linkages between small and medium-sized enterprises, which will also at the end enhance food security by reducing our post-harvest losses. But what we noticed that over the years, in our developed countries, agribusiness education research have evolved. Actually, in developed countries, what we notice is agricultural research education have evolved to meet the needs of industry. But in Africa, we are still lagging behind. So we need a paradigm shift. We need to change, to shift from traditional agricultural education and research that exists to more industry-oriented research. We know that the hardest aspect to change about our training and education in Africa is the overall paradigm that governs our approach to the subject. We still are on traditional agricultural education and research. Of course, what we notice is agricultural education is tackled by those institutions that are initially for decades offering agricultural courses. So how do we expect them to change from agriculture to agribusiness? This is a big paradigm shift that is needed here. What we need to do is to shift then from producing disciplinarians with a narrow but in-depth knowledge base to producing well-rounded professionals with requisite skills to do the job done. And this needs skills in partnering, skills in networking, and not only technical skills. We also need that it's not only for governments that we are now producing agricultural trainers or trainees, but we need to prioritize meeting the needs of the customers. So this is what we have embarked on, and I would love to have more time to expand on it, but what is important here to notice is that agriculture should go hand to hand with agribusiness in Africa. We need to focus our research not only in the production sector, but also in how do we generate income for our farmers, but also for middle class people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sidhu, for bringing us the idea of agribusiness and education. Our next speaker is Harkirat Singh Sidhu. Please come.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really an honor to be here amongst all this fantastic scientific community. Being very lonely as a non-scientist, I brought my only mascot along to support me. This is our rainforest frog, which some of you know about. Hey. I'm going to take you through a little bit about the Rainforest Alliance and give you as to what sort of work we do across the world and the countries that we operate in. We were established in 1987, and our mission statement, the Rainforest Alliance works to conserve biodiversity and ensure sustainable livelihoods by transforming land use practices, business practices, and consumer behavior. The areas that we work in are forestry, agriculture, climate, tourism, and education. Our presence across the world, you see in green, over 350 staff, over 20 offices, more than 100 countries, and more than 40 million hectares of land. There are 76 different crops that are certified by Rainforest. Now our growth story, almost like a fairy tale, started in 1987. In the first 13 years, we certified 200 farms. In the next 12 years, 999,980. And I'm proud to announce that last week we crossed 100 million. These are the percentages of world crop that we share in coffee, cocoa, banana, and tea. 11 million farmers, farm workers, and their family directly benefit from the Rainforest Alliance certification program. Our budget is 53.2 million. One thing I want to go back to this growth story. I think one of the secrets of the recent growth is our connect. It is a scientific knowledge that we give in small bites to the farmer, something that he readily accepts and something that he can digest very easily. So we do that, and then we go and retrain after he's got it, and we keep retraining. I think that is the way. Once you give him too much of scientific knowledge, he shies away, and it becomes very difficult to tackle. And as it has been mentioned by many speakers over the last 3 days, I think this is a gap that we need to bridge. Maybe we need to hire agencies like HR agencies which will help us bridge this gap, because it's not easy. But success comes only if you can bridge that gap. Otherwise, we can keep developing rocket science. But if we can't translate it into reality on ground, it's going to be very difficult. So I just thought I'll mention that because we are doing a great amount of work and we've got some wonderful people who are doing this, and I'm grateful to them. We are also linking up certified farms and small farms with markets. And I think that's what helps them get a bit of a premium, which helps them do the work that they are doing, and also socially keep up to the requirements of the certification. I'll rush through some of these slides because I think it's easy to just have a look at the photograph. Now, Sustainable Agriculture Network, SAN. Rainforest safeguards these standards. We've got 10 principles, and out of these 10 principles, if you look at 2, 3, and 4, ecosystem conservation, wildlife protection, water conservation. These are areas that we operate in a lot and on ground. Biodiversity for us is not just agroforestry, but it's getting more and more species in. It is increasing or maybe altering the weed flora so that we reduce the noxious weeds, increase the softer weeds, and therefore reduce the usage of chemicals. And by doing this, we actually create habitat for a lot of predators which need a daily dose of pollen and nectar for their survival, their energy, and their reproduction. So, it's these little things which start making a difference to a farmer. And when he starts seeing these differences, we give him a little more dollop of something that he can digest more. And that's how we are going, and it's working well so far. Our integrated crop management is reducing pesticides dramatically. Soil management is a big area that we have big issues, even in agroforestry areas, in areas like coffee, huge amount of tea, and especially in high rainfall areas like Darjeeling, in Assam. We've got massive degradation of soils over the years, and we are trying to work with Jeff on a project for restoration of these soils. Water contamination is a big issue, and for us, our management of waste and treating of effluent in very easy, simple methods which don't cost too much to farmers is doing a sterling job. Sustainable agriculture, as some others have pointed out, is based on 3 pillars: social, economic, and environment. All 3 of these pillars are equally important. If we fail on any one of them, we are not sustainable. That's why we have criteria, the 10 principles, 94 criteria, 16 critical criteria. But the important thing is, you need 80% overall score to get certified, but you must be at least 50% minimum on each one of these principles so that the 3 pillars of sustainability are maintained. My frog again. Right. In tea, we have recently hit 15% of world crop. It's a great achievement for us, and we are looking far beyond it. And our farmer groups and our smallholders are contributing dramatically to this, especially in East Africa. We are slow in India, but we are going to get there because we are working at it. Tea, coffee, pepper, cardamom, chili. This is the Indian program. We are linking up to brands which are now internal. Earlier, we were certifying farms which were exporting their produce to Western countries and getting certified under the seal. But today, we have started locally because the market internally is demanding it. Pesticides, residues are becoming a big issue. And therefore, we are very encouraged to see that in the local market, we've got brands like the Goodricks one. They've got 3 brands already. And there are other brands which are coming in to certify their teas for the local consumer. And I think that is a big thing for us because it helps the local farmer to get further up the chain. Green coffee production, 10 years, 10,000, 455,000. Great jump. Training, which I mentioned a little earlier, is, I think, what is making the difference. And I think that's something that maybe Rainforest would like to work very closely with other organizations to see how we can help out and learn from you in the way forward. Now, we've got teams which work on this, and they are on ground, and we work very closely with farmers, and that's what's making the difference. We are funded by Jeff, UK, DFID, IDH, and many other organizations. We have simple posters that are put up in local languages, which are pictorial, and therefore easy for farmers to pick up. We've also recently done some animations on pest control, on weeding, and things like that, which are very simple for farmers to understand. And so we take them along and project them with an LCD projector on a bed sheet in the farms. And it's working well because they start recognizing the predators that they've got, which otherwise they don't seem to know about. And they start identifying, even children sitting there say, hey, I know that one. I know that ladybird beetle. So it's a great way of putting it across to them, and it's very simple. And we are making these animations in local languages. We've already sent it out to Sri Lanka, to Indonesia, to Bangladesh and India. And there is a Dropbox that we share with everyone because our principle is sustainability. So it doesn't matter which certification it is, but we are always there to help because the cause is sustainability. We have an online platform which is not easily accessible to farmers, but it is accessible to people who are training them. And this is directed to them so that they can pick it up and then disseminate the knowledge down to the farmer. Well, I'll brush through this one. Côte d'Ivoire. We periodically study impacts that we are making in different areas. It's a way of finding out how well we are doing, where we are failing and faltering. And I think with apologies to Dr. Nair, who yesterday mentioned about no one mentioning about failure. Oh, it's time. Okay. Right, sorry. I'll move faster. A minute. Right, so we've got certified farms which are 576 yield against 334 which were not certified. 922 is the revenue as against 542. This is the feedback we've got from, again, we ask our farmers for feedbacks, and this study was done in Latin America, and this is the feedback we've got on various aspects, what is contributing to their revenue increases. Thank you very much. Sorry for overstepping my time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Harkirat, for bringing us the idea of sustainability linked to biodiversity, clean waters, and also to certification. Okay, our next speaker is Patrick Worms. Please, Patrick.
Thank you, Rattan. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give you a sense of the scale and of the urgency of our mission. It is not news anymore that we live in the Anthropocene. It has many defining features, as you know: the acidification of the oceans, the massive transfer of species between continents, the melting of the Arctic sea ice, or rising sea levels. But one that is often overlooked by most of the planet, but thankfully not by the people in this room, and it is just as grave, concerns land. Every single day, millions of land users around the world take decisions that will eventually threaten them, their children, their neighbors, and many strangers with poverty, destitution, and death. Death by starvation, death by extreme weather, death by disease, or death by the wars and the social unrest that social stresses and hunger brings. The collective impact of these land users' decisions drives deforestation, land degradation, desertification, water scarcity, freshwater pollution, the eutrophication of vast swathes of the seas, the collapse of terrestrial and oceanic ecosystems, and enormous biodiversity loss. Ladies and gentlemen, the first photograph taken of the whole Earth from space back in the late 1960s touched the whole world. You may have seen that picture when it first came out. In it, Earth was, for the first time, seen as what it is. A small, fragile, blue marble floating in the darkness of space. That picture, as much as Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, launched the environmental movement of which we are the beneficiaries. It is an iconic picture, but it portrays a vanishing world. To quote James Lovelock, the founder of the Gaia hypothesis, that icon is undergoing subtle changes as the white ice fades away, the green of forest and grassland fades into the dun of desert, and the oceans lose their blue-green hue to turn a purer swimming pool blue as they too become deserts. This is a disaster of planetary scale. The pain and misery it portends is beyond anything humanity, no stranger to suffering, has historically known. And yet hardly any of the people, any of these millions of land users around the world, taking these daily decisions, know of the damage they are unwittingly doing. Nor do they know of any other way of achieving their livelihoods. They are merely ordinary people struggling in difficult circumstances to make a living, applying very limited knowledge to their particular circumstances. Stuart Brand, of Whole Earth Catalogue fame, likes to put it this way: we have become as gods, and we have to get good at it. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't know it, but these land users have become as gods. But they are toddler gods. And as toddlers will, they fumble and stumble their way through the world, wreaking unseen havoc in their wake. Our job is to help them grow up. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Yes, that is our job, to help them grow up, I think. Okay, yes, I think we have around 20 minutes to make questions. I'm sure there are a lot of questions for the speakers, so please hand your hands and I will give you the voice. Adolfo, please. No.
Okay, this sounds to work. Adolfo Rosati from National Research Council of Italy. Just a quick question for the bamboo. You told us about very interesting technological application, but bamboo is also known as an edible plant, and you didn't mention it. Is that because the edible use is very negligible, or do we have vision for that?
Hello. Thank you very much for that question. Very difficult to say everything you want to say in just 5 minutes. So I didn't miss out the food security of bamboo deliberately. You're quite right. Of course, bamboo shoots are eaten by many people, and it is certainly an important aspect of bamboo. It's what I would call a traditional use of bamboo, but I hope that we can actually help to increase that as well. And I think, again, looking to my colleague on my left, this means working with business. And I think that is something very important. I think it's an extremely useful message and something we must bear in mind. If I think about the partnerships, Dennis, that you mentioned, private sector for us is going to be one of the most important new sectors, I think, to engage with, to link the producer countries with the market, and that brings us to certification, and it brings us to standards. Complicated, but worthwhile. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Friedrich. Please.
Thank you very much. My name is Sheikh Mbo, working for the World Agroforestry Center in Nairobi. I would like to raise the question of an important tipping point, which I did not heard about during this conference, is about urbanization. When you take the land use transition in Europe, urbanization played a big role in this transition. In Asia, it's taking place, or have taken place already. And my question is the role of behavioral change, new demand, and emerging challenges from the urban area that shape the livelihood change in the rural areas, and incidentally will have some impact on sustainability issues related to agroforestry. I would like to have your view, you guys, on the role of urbanization in this sustainable challenge across the world. Thanks.
Thank you. Who would like to answer?
Thank you, Sheikh. The process is complex, but I think there's quite a number of positive factors that actually occur as rapid urbanization happens for agroforestry. And in urban or peri-urban and farming areas, surrounding urban areas in many parts of the world, they are rapidly moving towards tree crops because of the markets for fruits, timber, fuel wood, and all of the other products that agroforestry provides. I remember when I was a graduate student, exactly 40 years ago, I was studying in an area that was about 100 kilometers from Manila in the Philippines, and it was all food crops at that time. I went back 20 years later, and I couldn't find a field with food crops. It was all tree crops, because the Manila market had provided such a magnet for tree crops that it enabled people to develop their agroforests and then work in the factories because they were close enough to the suburban areas of Manila. So these are some of the examples that urbanization actually has effects on prices of all commodities, strengthens demand, and does have a positive effect on the agricultural system across the country.
Thank you, Dean. There's another person there.
Thank you very much, Roger Leakey. I, of course, agree with the need for upscaling agroforestry, but I want to comment on Dennis's holy grail. There is an alternative to adding reverse phenology to all trees. It's to persuade food crop breeders, your hardcore Aggies, to breed crops for productivity under shade, instead of full sun, of course. I think that's probably going to be a lot easier, and also might avoid another huge environmental collapse. Thank you very much.
No, okay. The lady who is with red, the red jacket.
Thank you. I'm Tata Priscilla, a researcher from the National Institute of Agricultural Research in Cameroon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For the 3 days of being here, I've learned about agroforestry in terms of integration of trees into food crop system and the livestock production. But I think the challenge of food security today does not just depend on food crop system, because it is proven that agriculture as practice cannot meet the needs of food security in the near future. So I've been wondering if it is not possible, if it was not, I've not really learned about the integration of agroforestry in the wild, because I think that if it was possible, if we could develop research activities to study landscapes and integrate trees in natural existing wild systems, wherein we can promote wild foods, we can promote the production of wild foods in the natural environment. It will also help to promote environmental conservation, and also as well as producing food for the world's population. So this is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Patrick, please.
So yeah, I'd like just to put forward a point that what you're saying is exactly true. I belong to a state called Jharkhand in India, and what you were saying that integrating trees in the forest systems also. So there are like the communities take that in account, and the communities have community forests. So that area also is monsoon dependent. So one food, maybe they can take only one crop throughout the year. And there have been times when there have been severe droughts, and then these people have gone back to their forest and they grow a lot of jackfruit. And in those times of distress when they don't have other food crops to support them, jackfruit acts as like a prime food crop. And that is ingrained in their culture. So we need to maybe take more practices of those kind to have more food security all around the country. Thank you.
Yeah. I can add that in my area we have we take products from the forest land, which is medicine plants, mushrooms, and also use livestock just to prevent from forest fires. Please, Kumar.
I have a very small comment, no question. First of all, I like to congratulate the organizers of this Congress. The World Congress on Agroforestry has been organized so beautifully and productively and effectively with such a gallery of speakers. And I am impressed that we have even a Director General of an intergovernmental organization in Bar present today. And I am glad that he brought into focus an item on which enough attention is not being given, bamboo and rattan. I'm grateful that you have managed, Mr. Director General, to have all these people around and sitting on the podium. And also the Rainforest Alliance, because I think the linkages between certification, value chain addition to agroforestry trees is essential. And it should not be based only on FSC, or it should be on globalization standards. That's the only thing you can convey to Tennessee Whalen, your president of Rainforest Alliance, who is a friend. And we can talk later. So I'm the opportunity to meet you. Now, the last point I want to submit is, since I am from Italy, we call there, no se canta messa senza denaro. Nobody even goes to the Pope Benedicto to call the Mass unless there is money. Even though there's $1 billion has been raised fund for CGIAR, it ain't sufficient, especially for working on the agroforestry. It would be, if all of it were going to only to this agroforestry, I would say reasonable. So the other day in my presentation, I have made a submission for launching a global SAM program. SAM is not my relative. SAM is relative of us all. Global Sustainable Agroforestry Management Fund. Like Jeff, let somebody have the guts to launch it, it will get money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we have time for 4 questions. I have decided already who was going to speak, and the man who is at the end, very end, is just raising his hand. 5 minutes ago or something like that. Yeah. No, we can't hear you. We cannot hear you, sorry. It's the ladies one.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I feel that I'm like a backbenchers. Thanks. So I want to here put some of opinion. In every hierarchical system, those who are at the bottom have tremendous pressure and most exploited. So as the case of farmers, particularly small and marginal, there are tremendous pressure on them to feed the world and nowadays to mitigate the climate change. And they are doing this by fighting with the challenges like rain-fed farming and fighting for their survival. So here, in my opinion, in the agenda of developing evergreen agroforestry and a production system with market linkages, the economic and social benefits should be included and should be addressed in the research agenda. There should be equitable benefit sharing in farmer, public, corporate partnership. So, in this, collective action is needed for the major clients of agriculture, that is farmers, scientists, policymakers, and corporate sectors. So in this regard, if otherwise all our efforts for research and technological transfer will be just like rocket science. So I thank the initiatives taken by Rainforest Alliance for these linkages, and I thank for the Kiran for addressing the issues of economic benefit. Thank you very much.
It's difficult to decide who's going to talk anyway, because I've been told that we have only one question left. It's just like you, just to change the continent.
Thank you very much. This is not a question, but this is Swayambhu Amatya from Nepal. Just for Mr. Hans, regarding this Rattan, I would have thought that, of course, because of the time constraint, he might have forgot to mention, it is about the wetland productivity, wetland conservation also. So there is a tremendous potential of rattan in biodiversity conservation in wetlands. That is first thing. And in the second is the religious purposes of this rattan is very much used in religious purposes also. And back home in Nepal, what we do that we have got a god of prosperity, and I'm sure that in other developing countries also this type of things definitely is there. And we said that we have got Ratu Machendranath, there's a very big god of prosperity, and I think that there is a role of rattan for this type of things also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we have to finish just right now. I would like to first of all to thank really very much to the organizers of this Congress, because I think really that it has been a very really great success. So I ask you to give them a very big applause. And also to our speakers that have done a very really good job